First story. My entitled mum took my cheating ex's side, disinherited me, and disowned me from the family. She let my ex move into her house. Now, after the truth came out, she's come back begging for my forgiveness. Throwaway for privacy. I was raised by a single mum. My dad died 2 years after I was born. I focused on my career for most of my life, and my mum supported me doing that. But when I was 20, I met my ex-girlfriend, and we got together. We were colleagues first, but she told me she'd work in a different sector soon. In her new workplace, she met a new guy who she fell in love with while being in a relationship with me. I only found out because she admitted to having sex with him to me after she went out for girls' night with her friends. I immediately broke up with her and threw her out. A few hours after I tried to process what happened, my mum called me and shouted at me that she hadn't raised me like this. I was confused and asked what she meant, and she said that my ex-girlfriend accused me of cheating on her, and that she found proof of that on my phone. I couldn't believe what I just heard. I tried to talk to my mother, telling her that the exact opposite is true, and that she has cheated on me, but she didn't believe me. Part of the reason is probably because she and my mum truly loved each other. I never had a problem with that. Till then, I liked how they got along with each other. My mother called me a liar, and she said she'd disinherit me from her will as she's not having a cheater as a son. She said she never wants to see me again. Then later my grandparents called me to tell me how disappointed they are in me, and that I deserve every bad thing that is to come. Do you know what the worst thing was? I found out that my cheating ex-girlfriend continued to meet with my mum after everything she did. All of this was so painful for me. The only person that sided with me was my best friend, who was furious with her. I talked to him, and he hugged me, and I cried in his arms. I know many people would think that's unusual for two guys, but his support really helped me get through this. 1 year later, when I already was over it, my doorbell rang, and when I opened it, I saw my mum with teary eyes, and I began to feel how my emotions were coming up. And I slammed the door and started crying, asking her what the F*** she wants here. She said she wanted to talk to me, and that she was so sorry. After she begged for 15 minutes straight, I gave in and opened the door. She said my ex admitted that she cheated when she was drunk. She apologized profusely and said that she knows that she failed as a mother, not believing her own child. I told her that I accept her apology, but I don't want to see her now, and that I probably can never forgive her, even though she begged me to forgive her. Over the last few months, she started calling me daily, just to hear my voice, as she said. She said she missed me, then apologized again and asked if I could just come over. Her voice always sounded kind of painful, and she always said how much she loved me, and that even if she could understand that I hated her, she could not live with this thought in her head. I don't even hate her. I still love her. She is still my mum, but the trust is broken. I can never trust her again, because what if I got into a relationship again? Who says that she wouldn't just believe their word over mine again? I appreciate her efforts, but I just cannot forgive her, or even see her now. And I hope she understands that I need time. First update. Update. Hi there. After reading too many comments yesterday, I decided to meet with my mum today to clarify everything. I texted her to come over, and she didn't hesitate. She literally appeared at my door within 15 minutes. Many of you pointed out good points I should ask her. Even though she called several times, we rarely really talked. So when she came over, I sat her down in the living room. There I asked about my grandparents, her will, and if she is still in contact with my ex. She explained that she had told my grandparents, and she expected them to call me, but it seems like they were too stubborn. She also said I'm in her will again. She then started talking SHT about my ex. She said that when she found out, she punched her so hard that my ex lost a few teeth. I very much doubt the accuracy of this story detail, but I wanted to share it anyway because, for me, it was a funny thing to think about. She said she told her to F off and threw her out of the house. She then again started apologizing profusely and telling me that she knows how hard she messed up and that I probably can never trust her. But she wants to do everything in her power to make this right. She explained that the man before my father had cheated on her, so infidelity was a sensitive topic for her. And then she said that she regrets not believing me or even remotely hearing my side of the story. I sat quietly while she explained all this. I then asked her how I knew that I could trust her now. What would happen if I got into a similar situation, and if she would just throw me away again? She said I have her word, and I replied that her word is basically meaningless, as I don't trust her in the first place. She didn't reply to that answer properly and again begged me to forgive. I told her that I cannot forgive her for now, and maybe I will never be able to forgive her. But I also see her efforts, and if she wants me in her life again, then she has to show me that I can count on her. She started tearing up. I could tell she tried to hold in her tears the entire time. But then she broke down crying, and with a whimpering voice, she asked if she at least could give me a hug. I accepted that. And she said she's going to make this right no matter what it takes. And then she left. Now, while I am kind of touched by how she shows how much she regrets doing what she did, I am really concerned about my own reaction. When she broke down and I saw my own mother there on the floor crying, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't sad, I wasn't angry, I wasn't happy, and I certainly didn't show any sort of empathy for her. I just couldn't. During the year of having no contact with her, I refused to go to therapy. Maybe it's not too late to do that now. In the end, I want to thank all of you for your nice comments and support. I tried to read every single one of your comments, but the post kind of exploded way more than I expected. Have a nice day. Update. How I'm currently doing. Update. Hi, guys. Some of you probably waited for an update considering the last time I gave an update was 4 months ago. Okay, so I was in therapy, and I feel so much better now. Doesn't mean that I forgot what happened. I honestly have to admit my mom really improved herself. I moved into a new apartment last month, and when I asked her to help, she immediately said yes, even though the day of my moving was a day where she had important appointments at her job, which she canceled to be there for me. She calls me almost every day to ask me how I am. Sometimes she even drives to my workplace to leave me a bit of lunch there. She also visits me at home just to see me. She says she wants to hear my voice. I still cannot fully trust her. I am in therapy, but I'm not sure if I ever will be able to. But I do recognize her efforts to make things right. She also talked to my grandparents again and made them apologize. But I couldn't care less about them. They were still DC kids even after the truth came out. Some of you might be interested in what happened to my ex. The last thing I heard from her was that the guy she cheated on me with has now cheated on her too. And he just saw her as some kind of fling. But that's just hearsay from the friends of my best friend. I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't really care about her at all. But if it were true, it would be great karma, though. Thank you so much for your support. I'll try to keep you updated if anything happens that is worth being told here. Update. I finally reciprocated her hug. Today was a big day for me, and hopefully I did the right thing. My mom visited me almost every day after her work, told me about her day, and asked me about mine. She always asks me if I feel okay and if she can do anything. And today we seriously had a good time. We watched a movie, she cooked something for me, and it was overall really wonderful today. I can't lie. Every day when she left, she hugged me for goodbye, but I never hugged her back. I was still careful. But when she did it today, I finally hugged her back and told her that I forgive her. My heart was beating really hard and fast when these words came out of my mouth. It took a lot of strength in me to say this. Most likely because I absolutely had no idea what her reaction would be. A few months ago, I could have never imagined saying these words. She first looked at me with a surprised face, and from one second to another, she broke down in tears in my arms, thanking me repeatedly. I was kind of lost and didn't know how to respond now. She just went on about how much she loves me and how proud she is to call me her son because not everyone would have been able to forgive her after this huge mistake she made, and how terrible she feels that she ever thought I could be a cheater. And then she said that she will always be there for me, and she will call me tomorrow. I'm not lying when I say that this entire moment felt like a scene out of a drama movie. But I'm here for it. She made a horrible mistake. I know that, but I can't hold this unforgiveness in my heart forever. Especially after seeing all the efforts she put into our relationship. This might not be the update some of you want to read, but I feel good the way it is, and that's what's important. Second story. I threw my brother's self-harm at my dad to win an argument, saying he neglected us and allowed his sister to sell me and my brother, which caused my brother's death. My dad shot himself. I lost all my family in less than a year. I regret saying those words to my dad, and the guilt is eating me alive. TW. CSA, I can only add one tag, sadly. This is a spare account that I made so it's not tied to my main. I am a 30M. 12 years ago, my little brother hung himself, and my dad shortly after shot himself. It's been a long time, and their 12th year anniversary is coming up. Hence, I felt this brewing in me. I needed to let it out, even though I've seen a bunch of therapists for this. But man, I don't know, it's different confessing this outside of that. Anyway, my dad was a great dad, as great of a dad as they come. He had his flaws, but he wasn't abusive or anything a dad shouldn't be. Since our mom passed away from cancer when I was 8 and my brother was 5, Dad took on a lot of the hard work raising 2 boys as a single dad. He never remarried or anything. He dated here and there, but nothing stuck. Maybe it was because he had 2 kids already, but I don't know. Simply put, what happened was that ever since our mom died, my dad's older sister sawed me and my brother on and off for 6 years, until we moved away when I was 14 and my brother was 11. Dad had to work 2.5 jobs, day and night, just to keep us afloat. We didn't come from money, and my mom's cancer really hurt us financially. My aunt was the only family member who could babysit us, as her job kept her at home, and she was my dad's only relative and place of support, emotionally and financially. Sorta like she was his mother. But Dad found a better job outside the state, and we never saw my aunt as frequently as we did, and the abuse stopped. Anyways, though, during those 6 years we lived close by to her. On multiple occasions, she did horrible things to us. I don't want to get into details. But we didn't know what was happening at the time was wrong, or at least I didn't. Sadly, my little brother was affected the most by it. This was worse when he entered high school. My brother was really going through it. The trauma was bad. It definitely affected me too in subtle ways. But I guess I repressed it for so long, it was easier to ignore, and I hate to say it, I didn't think much of it, probably because I didn't see anything wrong with it. I guess it's different when it's a woman who does it. I always just figured that's the way she loved, and I've been brainwashed into thinking it was normal. The amount of times I told friends that I lost my virginity at 10, thinking it was cool, like JFC, because now as an adult in my 30s with a kid of my own. F that. I and my brother weren't too close either when we were young. We often fought. But we eventually got better, and since Dad was so busy, and I was old enough to care for him, I did half the fatherly responsibilities, like driving him up to and from school, making him food, buying him treats, and all that. Eventually I left for college, and heard the news my aunt suddenly died from a heart attack. This was the catalyst that then pushed my brother to the edge, and not long after, he took his own life. My dad not only lost his beloved sister in the same year, but his son too. He knew my brother was depressed, but I don't know. We never talked about it, and that's what I hated the most. We never talked about our feelings, and Dad was so busy he never had time to listen. I can't imagine what my brother was going through. I knew something was up, but I never said anything. I became like my dad. Too busy with my own responsibilities, I forgot those around me. I hated myself so much, so I came out with it to my dad in the heat of the moment. Told him why I believed my brother died and what happened to us. I thought the day my brother died was the worst I've ever seen my dad, but this time, he went ballistic. The house was destroyed, and he yelled and screamed, and it scared me that I left back to my college dorm and regretted even opening my mouth. A few days later, I was told he shot himself. I dropped out of college the weekend after, and suddenly lost all of my living family members like that. Sometimes I look back and think if I just said something when we were kids, or paid attention to my little brother more, or talked to someone earlier about it, I could have prevented all of it. 12 years of time passing eventually helped a little, and getting my hands busy with work too. I went back to college, met my GF, got my MBA, and have a daughter too. They definitely helped save me from a destructive path and convinced me to take therapy seriously. I don't know if it's crazy to say, but losing my family affected me more than the saw I went through myself. But I can't deny it still messes me up in my own relationship. But that's a different topic, I guess. I think I'm doing better now. But whenever this time comes around, man, this pressure builds in me that I cannot just keep in. So thanks for reading. I just needed to let it out. Edit. Thank you to those who read and shared really nice sentiments so far, and for those who decide to from here on. It means a lot. I wrote this early in the morning and posted just now before work so I'd be distracted after posting, because I knew it would be very heavy. I'll try and get back to you all, but for now, thank you. Update. Just came back from work, and did not expect the amount of support this post received. It's overwhelming in a good way. I will try and respond to all that I can. I know I'm just a stranger with a colorful past, whose story you didn't know until today. But you all took the time out of your lives to read and empathize and write kind words. And for that, you all have a sincere thank you from me. I'm not going to lie, I intended to take the post down at the end of the day, as it was just meant to be a vent, but all your words resonate with me. I needed to hear them. And maybe they will resonate with someone else too. So I will keep this post up. Comments. Consistent Primary 41. I'm a teacher. And I get into arguments with other teachers about this. But most teachers are fine to ignore people such as yourselves. They think that magically, mental health services will magically appear and kids will avail themselves of them for magical reasons. I try to explain that you have to train. No knowledge. We are teachers. Here to teach. There was nothing you or he could do because you were not taught or educated to handle that situation. What we can do as teachers is be available, listen, and direct you to the right stuff. But to be honest, everyone in your life wants no part of that SHT, so you are left to your own devices. I'm sorry that it's how it is. I try to be the change I want to see in the world, but so many other teachers are not interested. Like, they know kids are acting up, but just want them punished. Or they see kids are distressed, but don't build a bridge to them. We can't help you get help if we don't do SHT, and no one spends more time with you than we do. It's effing sad. OP. One of my vivid memories during HS was me during first sem junior year, and my brother was a freshman. He had a hard time making friends, and one time, some kids played a cruel prank on him that he came knocking at my homeroom class to ask for my help only for the teacher to scold him for disturbing us. The teacher made him apologize to us, and I spoke up in defense of my brother, who was clearly on the verge of tears, but was then given detention for talking back. It was humiliating, but I can't imagine how much worse it was for my brother. Anyways, safe to say, that was not a nice experience for my brother. Teachers are meant to be the adults who protect us, yet they did not in that instance. I can understand why my brother never spoke to anyone in school about the SE. Sadly, I can't tell you how to go about being a teacher, but I appreciate the sentiment and you sharing your thoughts with me. And honestly, the fact you chose to teach is already commendable. It's not an easy job. Wobbly Weasel. How do you get through all of this and decide to have a child? OP. I'm not sure if this question is genuine or from a place of judgment, but either way, it was because of my GF. She has had a history of AD, and her chances of having children were slim to none. Our daughter was an accident, and also a surprise given the low odds my GF was given. And yes, we used protection, but even then she still got pregnant despite that and her fertility issues. I've always been hesitant to have children given my history. Not exactly opposed to them, but at the time I wasn't bothered either way. But she has always wanted them, yet had to accept she most likely couldn't. In the end, it was her choice, and I can only respect and support her decision as her partner. She chose to keep our daughter since she doesn't know when or if there will be another opportunity. And despite my hesitancy, I'm glad she did. I just stepped up, and it really helped me also. Third story. OP reports coworker for cheating in their company's walking competition. At our last company meeting, they announced there would be a step competition. Participation was voluntary. If the average number of steps is greater than or equal to a 5K per day, all participants get a Friday half day. The person with the most steps overall wins an Apple Watch. We would log our steps during workdays only for 20 days. I've been in a funk lately and was glad for an excuse to get back into my fitness routine. I love running and asked if steps from running could be counted. Matt, who volunteered to manage the competition, said it did. My goal was 20,000 steps a day, thinking this would easily put me in the lead. But on day one, this guy Dave posted 23,000. I sent him a message on Teams, saying something along the lines of, "It's on." The next day I put up 24,000. He answers back with 25,000. Another coworker, Jenna, also joined in. The three of us started having daily chats about our workouts. By week 2, it's looking certain one of us will win, and the whole group is absolutely getting a half day off work. Then I checked the log, and out of nowhere, Tiffany, who'd been posting 10-15,000 per day, posted 65,000 steps. For perspective, a marathon I ran resulted in 52,000. So I'm skeptical, but also, maybe Tiffany ran a casual ultramarathon on a workday. Who knows? I sent her a Teams message. That's a lot of steps. What's your secret? She said she plays volleyball and wanted to count the steps from her games, but can't safely keep her phone or watch on her to keep count. To solve this problem, Matt looked up a chart online that gives a step equivalent for other activities. X volleyball = 89 steps per minute. Tennis = 133 SPM, etc. Fair enough. But the math still isn't mathing, so I said, "Wow, you must have played for like 8 hours. Her reply was, "Well, I also rode my bike." Now this is where I call bullshit, so I clarified. You counted riding your bike. Turns out she didn't just use the chart for volleyball. She used it to count everything she did and convert it into steps. bike riding, stretching, yoga, washing the dishes. All great, but those are not steps. This seemed pretty lame to me, and I just said, I don't think that's really in the spirit of this competition. And immediately went to Matt to ask about this chart. Specifically, if bike riding counted towards steps. He said bike riding didn't count. It was too different, and also unfair since not every employee has access to a bike. I thanked him for clarifying, and told him that Tiffany may also need some clarification. Not 2 minutes later, I get this message from Tiffany. Really, you complained about me. That's actually not in the spirit of the competition. I lost a pet recently and have been so depressed. I've been struggling to lose weight, and I was so proud of my steps from yesterday. Not everyone can be a marathon runner like you. Really uncool. I knew I was being a little cheeky going to Matt, but Tiffany's message really took me by surprise. Am I the arsehole? Relevant comments. Flying Monkey 5678461YTA. For taking it too seriously. The corporate version paid portal, usually associated with a health insurance company. I've worked and done this in 3 places at least where they have these walking competitions. All have them set up like this usually. So the people who go to the gym twice a day easily rack up a lot of points. Gardening counts as well, as you expend more calories than just plain walking. Matt is a doormat, though. He had a chart. He told people to use the chart. You didn't. He changed his mind after you pushed him. Poor guy is probably regretting organizing this now. I learned about the chart from Tiffany. It wasn't something presented to the whole group. Kokronokawari NTA. Cheating is lame. Who won, though? Competition ends next week. Inedible Calamari 42. I want to know about Dave. Dave's cool. We never really had a reason to interact at work before, just given our roles. He's training for a triathlon, can confirm he doesn't count the biking or swimming he does towards this competition. Disc meniscus. Was it this www.september.us? This competition allows entering in other activities, which are then converted to their step equivalents. Everything from house chores, yard work, and playing with kids. It's not that. We are just logging our steps into a shared Excel doc on SharePoint. Mincing Gaglet, how did everybody collect their step data to begin with? My smartwatch keeps a running total throughout the day. It doesn't matter if I am walking, running, riding a bike, washing dishes, scratching my nose. Whatever movement that causes the mechanism in my watch to the point where it is recognized as a step will count as a step. There are hundreds of devices that can track step data, and there are bound to be differences between brands. I've known people who use their phones to track steps, which I believe is just as valid as any other means of tracking. Heck, the very nature of the contest is built on winning a better device. If it is, unfair since not every employee has access to a bike, were steps taken to ensure that every employee had access to the identical method of capturing step data. The playing field was never level to begin with. Sorry, but why TA? Initially, folks were just meant to use a wearable if they had one or their phone. Reporting is just on the honor system. Manual entry to a spreadsheet. The chart for manually calculating steps was provided to Tiffany only, as far as I know, because she presented this issue of not having her phone on her while playing volleyball. Verdict. Not the arsehole. Update post. 2 weeks and 3 days later. So the feedback on my last post made me feel like less of an arsehole for sure. But what happened next definitely got rid of any remaining guilt I may have had. Tiffany won the steps competition. After I spoke with Matt, he tried to clear things up with Tiffany. But in his words, she was combative and rude, so he ended up looping in our HR rep, Jill. Jill decided that Tiffany could keep her 65,000 steps, and the rules would just be clarified for everyone going forward. Well, going forward, Tiffany continued to post 35,000 and 40,000 steps every single day. Less ridiculous than 65,000, but still ridiculous considering we all sit at desks 8 hours a day. It was still a tight race between the 4 of us, because Dave, Jenna, and I had been posting higher than Tiffany prior to the 65,000 step day. Then Dave got sick. He only posted 4,000 one day, and that was enough for him to fall too far behind. Then I had something urgent and time-consuming come up at work, and only got 10,000 steps that day. That was enough for me to fall too far behind too. So it was basically up to Jenna at that point, and she was really working for it. Even got up at 4 in the last couple of days of the competition to try and max out steps. The highest she ever got to was about 41,000, and in the end, Tiffany beat her by about 250 steps overall. Tiffany had zero issue happily accepting her award at the next company-wide meeting and gave this super annoying speech about how everyone did so great. and how in the end she's just glad we all became more active and healthy. I never responded to the message she sent me about being depressed about her dog or whatever. At the end of the day, this is my job, and I'm not trying to get into some messy and weird fight over an Apple Watch and an extra 4 hours on a Friday. More relevant comments. Johnamac_19, combative and rude. This should have led to a meeting with HR and a disqualification. OP, yeah. Tiffany has gotten away with stuff like this before in more serious work situations too. I don't get it. Are Jill and Tiffany friends? OP, not that I'm aware of. Jill's remote and lives in another state. Lighthouse Yonsaturn, my work has an app rule. You have to use an app to count your steps. And if you don't have a phone or device capable of counting steps, they give you a tiny little bleeper-sized step counter. It's ridiculous that she obviously cheated and didn't feel ashamed by it. Tells you what kind of person she is. OP, this did drive me crazy. They should have required some type of proof instead of just relying on the honor system. Bouch, out of curiosity. Once it was made clear she was allowed to cheat, why didn't you just have everyone report as many steps as they wanted to each week? And then meet privately to share real step numbers with each other for your own benefit. OP, for me, the best case would have been to win honestly and for her to cheat and still lose. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but I figured if I lost, I would have at least gone down fighting the good fight. This sounds way more dramatic than I feel about this, but I don't know how else to explain it. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.